Namaste, everyone. I'm going to give you Kundalini yoga for healing the inner child. We're going to work with some mudras, and these mudras are going to carve out pathways in the brain that support the freedom, sovereignty, and integrity of the inner child. So this inner child we have within us is our enthusiasm, it's our positive self-concept, it's also our highest self-esteem. So when we see individuals who are radiant, who are very radiant, very magnetic, very creative, they're accessing their inner child. And when we are creative, that is when we are in our highest self-worth, when we're being creative. And the inner child gives us our self-concept. And that self-concept is developed around 5 to 9 years old, we can say. And that can be influenced by the parents, caretakers, the environment. But when we're in this 5 to 9 year old period, a lot of the self-concept is established through exploration, freedom, right? So when we think about the inner child, we think of freedom. Freedom. When you see a child, you think they're free. When you think of Mr. Rogers, you think, wow, I wish I was that free. And it's nothing to do with social economics. It's nothing to do with the race, the age. It's nothing to do with the sex. It has nothing to do with nationality. It has everything to do with creativity and embodying that creativity. So our 5 to 9 year old self has really no concepts of social economics, nationality, ethnicity, sex, race. All they have is simply their self-concept. I am, I belong. That has to do with the root chakra. And that's everything a kid is from this 5 to 9. I am, I belong. So when they're climbing on trees, when they're rolling in the grass, when they're snowboarding, when they're swimming in the stream, in the ocean, collecting shells, looking for pearls, acorns, gardening, it's all about I am, I belong. Now that gets deconstructed when we start to program social economics, program race, sex, ethnicity, age, and then all those programs in the mix, I am, I belong, can get deconstructed. That basic primal understanding that I am alive for a reason, everything happens for a reason. I am here to manifest, I'm here to create. So children from 5 to 9, they have that natural instinct that is, I am here to create, right? So a lot of kids, they're more inclined to be problem solvers and creative because they have that high self-esteem. They feel quite enthusiastic about life. They feel lively, they're very grounded. But then as we get older, we lose that radiance, we lose that sort of powerful electromagnetic field of the heart, we call the aura, the radiance, and we start to really move towards the programs rather than move deeper into our sovereignty, into our integrity, into our freedom. Right, and then when we move more into the programs, there's an excuse, there's an excuse, there's a mood, there's a complaint, there's a dissatisfaction, there's a limitation, there's restriction, right? That we can basically sort of concave ourselves, right? It's almost like a collapsing of a cave, right? And all of that sort of debris just falls on top of us, right? Right, but with the kid, the sort of 5 to 9 year old self-esteem that we want to heal, the enthusiasm is this endless reserve of higher energy, right, that a kid has. We can call it Kundalini, higher energy higher energy to the perspective of somebody who's 88 and who's doing these back bends, right? They can see the back bends that an 88-year-old does is the same thing as the movement of a child, the mind of a child, right? So a lot of, in yoga, we talk about you're the age of your back. And Yogi Bhajan says that as well. You're the age of your back, right? So, and when it comes to age, you reach about 30, 36, 37, and that should be the appearance you have for the rest of your life, right? So when you're 50, 60, you should still have the age of like you're 36, 37, right? If you are, right? If you have the raising of the Kundalini, right? The radiance, right? And the radiance is not necessarily about physical exercise, because there's many people who do a lot of HIIT workouts and still don't have that radiance. It's more of like the physiology that we do when we do mudras, when we do mantra recitation, when we do kriyas that are not necessarily about the HIIT workout, right? Not necessarily about the physical body. It could be about the sexual body. It could be about you're doing a particular motion that's about the penetrating the neutral body, the neutral mind, right? Or you're penetrating the sensual body, right? So when it comes to radiance, it's really working on relaxing and working on the youth of these different facets of the mind and personalities, and these different energy centers, I like to call, we can call chakras, right? Energy centers, the 10 bodies, energy centers, right? And when we're working with all of them, that's how we really tap into this expansion of ourselves, right? So we're gonna work on healing that inner child, which becomes our foundational building block to which we build upon, right? And for a lot of us, the childhood, again, has to do with the root chakra, and the lower body, clearing that trauma, especially in the pelvis area, the hips, the root chakra, the navel, can be more tricky than clearing like in the upper chakra region, right? Because it's more ingrained. It's like trying to pull up a tree. You can cut a tree off. It's a lot easier. Just cut it half, right? Than to actually dig in the ground and try to uproot this big old tree. It's easier to just cut it off, right? Or just cut the branches, right? Just kind of cut it off in the branches, right? But get into the roots. You gotta do a lot of shoveling. You got a lot of pulling, right? So we work, for example, with Sakriya, and Sakriya is a method of, we wouldn't say uprooting you, because it does give you that sensation of uproot with soot, right? When you're squeezing up soot, no, right? You're it feels like you're uprooting, but really what you're doing is, it's almost like you're jiggling. You know, you're jiggling whatever needs to be kind of eliminated. You're jiggling it loose, right? You're jiggling it loose, and you're kind of clearing it out. You're pulling it through you into the upper chakras, and raising the vibration of the baseline frequency. And that does a total shift to your relationship with that baseline trauma, or childhood trauma, or childhood anger, right? Or resentment towards family members, or these karma we have with family that plays out in this kind of cause and effect that's destructive and chaotic, and agitates us, creates the heat, the red of anger, right? Or rage. So when we work with that inner child energy, we're really working with I am, I belong, I have the creative intelligence to survive, but also to be very talented. And that's what that inner child, when you see that radiance in people, they have that understanding with the universe, that the universe is there to provide for me, right? In this matrix, magic show, as Yogi Bhajan was called, it can present all kinds of programs, right? It can seduce me, it can even try to take from me, all kinds of things, jealousy, whatever it is, doesn't necessarily mean that I have to lose I am, I belong. I just simply need to kind of, be a little sly and kind of find the way, right, through. Like I always say, there's a loophole, right? The Matrix, right? There's always a powerful creative energy that can change the game. That's how I see it, and that's how a child sees it as well. There's a creative power that can change the game, right? So and that's what we call ingenuity, that's what we call inventiveness, that's what we call innovation, problem solving, right? So when a child, the learner's mind, when it looks at the complex concepts, right, that a lot of adults, we get kind of frozen in, we get calcified in, right, we get kind of stuck in, and then we more calcify, we get more and more like the cave, the walls are just falling on top of us, right? We're trying to dig ourselves out of this kind of, all the material, the debris is falling on top of us, right? So with that kind of creative power that these 5 to 9-year-old sort of mind has, right? The child's mind, the learner's mind, it looks at complex concepts with a sense of enthusiasm, a sense of intention, and a sense of a student. You rise with it as a student, right? Available to the teacher. And I think that is something that gives us this ability to be alive, right? Because when you look at a child, when we start to kind of move away from that, you see people, they disembody. They get into this numbness, this disconnection, right? And then that leads to dissatisfaction, and then that leads to burdens and all that kind of stuff. But what really brings back the liveliness and the livelihood, which really has nothing to do with your social economics, your race, your sex, or age, right? Has everything to do with the amount of creativity you give and the amount of soulful philosophy you are receiving into the body, right? That makes all the difference in your livelihood. And when you have that livelihood, it's just natural. You feel like I belong. It's just natural for you to be at the right place at the right time, co-creating, making things happen. Because you don't feel disembodied. You don't feel you're just floating in, spaceland, and while your body is on Earth, and you're not really grabbing anything, right? Like when you think of roots, when you think of you're planting a seed, right? This is a nut, but or you're planting a seed. The roots grab the dirt, right? They grab it with all their might and they dig, right? So that the stem can really have a strong spine, right? It's like our hips, right? When you really start to get into those hips, you start to have, your spine starts to feel so much more secure. When you walk, when you run, you just feel your spine just feels a lot more steady, right? When your hips are wanky, your spine feels very, it feels even uncomfortable. It doesn't feel stable to you, right? Your contact with the earth doesn't feel stable. Your movements don't feel really stable. It can even feel quite painful, right? So that inner child, the learner's mind, is the same thing as the creative mind in adults, right? And that's working with your embodiment. So when people start to come to their embodiment, they come into their soulful philosophy. They come into their soulful philosophy, and they start to come into their creative purpose, their livelihood, right? Which is beyond social economics, I versus you, aggressive competition, sex, age, race, ethnicity, nationality. It has everything to do with your creative power, right? And the craftsmanship that you have, the sort of quality of the quality that you give to the creativity you're putting out, right? And the receptivity to the knowledge you need from the earth, from the universe, that will transform you, that will ask of you, demand of you, that will get you to the clearing of the karma, get you to the elevation of your incarnation, right? So, that all begins with that play of the hips, right? I mean, it all kind of comes from the hips, really, right? And that has everything to do with the fearlessness that we have, that has gotten us to where we are today, and still with the programs, we can say, the matrix, the magic show, right? That fearlessness is still that kind of underlining sound current, that prevailing, more prominent sound current that keeps us as human beings completing our journey, having that soul's journey completion. So we're gonna bring the hands together, rub them. It's just a little lecture on the inner child, so we can really understand what we're working on and what we really want to come into. So rub the hands, create some friction, create some heat. You can even clap your hands to really activate the brain, and also really awaken the sort of meridians on the palm, right? Which can also work with the sort of balancing of hemispheres of the brain, as well as balancing out the body, the centers in the body. So bring them, the heart, press it into the thymus, the sternum, roll the shoulders back and down, spine is very tall. Tuck in the chin, inhale, exhale. And we're going to chant Ong, O-N-G, Namo, Gurudev Namo, to call in the teachers, the teachers of the Shakti lineage that gives us the knowledge, the courage, as well as the prosperity we need to be able to ignite and sustain the torch of creative destiny on this planet and other planets. So inhale. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Adgare name, Jagare name, Sadgare name, Sri Gurudev name. Adgare name, Jagare name, Sadgare name, Sri Gurudev name. Adgare name, Jagare name, Sadgare name, Sri Gurudev name. Inhale. Squeeze Mulabandha, which is sex organ, rectum, navel. Squeeze belly button to spine. Tuck in the chin. Press the tongue on the upper palate. Hold. Sustain the breath. Ignite the furnace. Turn on the gas light. Put the fire in the furnace. Warm up the body. Exhale. Now come into cat-cow. So really feel like in the hips, feel in the pelvis area, really feel it, even feel it in the belly. Inhale, stick the butt out, squeeze Mulabandha, open the throat, press the tongue on the upper palate, exhale around the back. Inhale, exhale deeply as you press your forehead down to the earth, hands above you. Really open your heart to the earth, expand the heart energy, tap into your radiant body. Inhale, exhale, come up, come seated. So we're going to work with this mudra. So we're going to do a breath of fire as we hold this mudra. So I have a picture of it. So I'm more of a visual person myself. So I'm going to do, and I'll read it to you. So we're going to do this mudra called Inner Sense. See it? Look. I'm going to read it to you what it is for. So it says clarity, senses, inner peace, benefits, reduces sensory overload and aids assimilation of life experiences, assists abdominal breathing, calms the nervous system, supports the urinary and eliminatory systems. Element is water. Instructions: bring the hands together, interlace the fingers on the outside with palms touching. Extend the pinky and ring, pinky and index fingers straight out, with the palms, with the pads of the two fingers touching. Rest in the forearms onto the belly, with fingers pointing outward. Relax the shoulders down, and the focus is inner sensing guides me to greater understanding. So this is what it looks like. You see it? You see, right? I'll show you the picture again. Right? So index finger, pinky touching, other fingers just crossed over. The thumb appears to be side by side like that. Breath of fire, just holding it here. Really open up your heart, really focus on that heart energy expanding. I want you to visualize soft pink, almost like a rose quartz crystal. Visualize soft pink expanding into the whole aura. See the whole aura very expansive, going out 10 feet, even 30 feet out in all directions. You can even go up to 18 miles in all directions. Visualizing this pink energy. And seeing the center of your heart like a pearl, like a gem, a pearl, a white pearl, so the holy of holy. get sensitized, really tap into it. Feel it in the channels, the energy centers of you. Inhale, squeeze up, drop the shoulders down, press the tongue on the upper palate, sip up more air through the nose. Exhale. Now just kind of roll the shoulders around, back, towards the ears, and then back and around. Kind of want to open up this, get this lymphatic flush, kind of open up the neck. Just continue to rotate the shoulders back and around. This mantra is one of great joy. So we're going to really put this in the system. So we're going to actually you're going to come onto your knees. So the thing about the learner's mind, the student mind, is there's a meditative mind. As adults we lose due to the collapsing of the cave and the programmings that we're trying to work more with the programs than we're actually trying to work with our meditative mind and lose our creative edge. So we're going to lift up. Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ekonkar, 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 Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Kar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar 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 Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, 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 Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar. So if you're yawning, such as myself, you're really releasing fatigue. When you put your arms above your head, what you're doing is you're releasing the fatigue out of the body. You really focus like you're holding on a white sun above your head, the 10th gate. Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, 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 Ekonkar Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ekonkar Sataguru Prasad, Sataguru Prasad. Ekonkar, Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. Ek Onkar Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. 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 Ek Onkar Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. 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 Ek Onkar You have a minute. You're almost there. Just hold it up. I know it's challenging. I'm quite challenged. Let your arms shake if they need to. Open the armpits. You're opening the heart. Really lifting yourself up, healing yourself. Breathe long and deep. Breathe deeply into the chant. Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad, Satguru Prasad. 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 Ek Onkar. Inhale. Squeeze up. Press the tongue in the upper palate. Exhale. Hold arms up. Inhale.
How to make the
Hold the hands up. Exhale. Inhale last time. Exhale. Bring the hands, sweep it down through the aura, like through thick water. The palms facing the earth.